Are you struggling to keep your 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students engaged and focused during literacy time? Or maybe Daily 5 feels more like chaos than calm? What if you could walk away with 3 simple strategies that would not only keep your students on task, but engaged during literacy and the most productive they've been all day? And here's the best part. By the end of this video, I'll also share with you a powerful resource that's going to get your students managing Daily 5 in a whole new way. Trust me, you want to stay till the end so you can see how this can transform your 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade classroom. Hey teacher friend, welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk about Daily 5 and 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and you're going to leave this video feeling like you have some strategies that actually work and a refresh button has been hit on your classroom during literacy time. So before we start though, let's go over why Daily 5 works so well in upper elementary. If you haven't done Daily 5 before, just know that it's not just for younger students. And speaking as someone who's taught kindergarten, 1st grade, but now 5th grade, it works well for all K through 5 classrooms. And even for teachers that teach 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, I've seen them do this as well in their classrooms. It does work wonders for grades 3, 4, and 5, and here's why. It encourages independent learning and it fosters a sense of responsibility. So a lot of times I like to tell my students freedom with responsibility. Because of the tasks that they're working on, they're given the freedom to get them done with choice, but they have to be responsible in getting them done and proving to me that they're doing so. Like I just mentioned, it offers students choice, which makes them more invested in their learning and a bigger part of the process versus just being told what to do all day, which school can definitely have that feeling. And by the time we get to the upper grades, some kids are just so sick of that not having any type of choice sucks the fun out of the day. Daily 5 creates a structured routine while allowing room for differentiation. It is a structure to your literacy block, not the instruction. So nowhere in this video will I ever tell you, you need to teach this, this, and this. I'm going to teach you routines and structures along the way in all of my Daily 5 videos that are going to help streamline your literacy block to make it more efficient for you so that you can get to all of your reading groups. But before we can get to the juicy stuff, we got to talk about the challenges that we might face as 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers with Daily 5. So let's be real, teaching older kids has its own set of challenges. Now we're dealing with attitude and changes that they're going through that makes not always wanting to be at school so much fun. So how do we keep our students motivated and focused when there's distractions everywhere? Now, we don't have cell phones hopefully in our classrooms, but kids have access to those things all the time at home. And so we're competing for that space in their brain when they are wanting to flip the channel so quickly all the time. And so that is a tough challenge that we do face as educators. So how can we manage those transitions and ensure accountability without constant reminders? It's such a good question. And where do you even find engaging, grade appropriate materials that won't take hours to prep? That's the biggest thing I ran into. And that's where a lot of my systems came into place with Daily 5, is that I was so tired of spending countless hours trying to figure this out. And then once I had a system mapped out, it was such a sigh of relief that I knew that I could rinse and repeat and I wouldn't be so stressed all the time. So there's 3 essentials for Daily 5 to be successful in your upper elementary classroom. And the first one I'm going to talk about is accountability tools. We have to incorporate some level of accountability, and how you do that in your classroom might vary. This is where I won't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what's worked for me. In 5th grade, my students will submit their assignments in Google. So we will do a whole group activity and then they will have an assignment that is something they can do independently because I've already taught the lesson to them, and that will go hand in hand. So maybe it's a short read that they need to do during Read to Self and answer some questions. And then they submit it to me and it goes to my email, and when I have time to check it, I do. You might have some kind of chart that they have to check in. They might be setting goals as well. And this is all a way to just hold them accountable so that Daily 5 isn't a busy work time. That is one of the things that some teachers who haven't successfully successfully implemented Daily 5 will say that it's just busy work, but that's because they're not doing it correctly. The second essential that we must talk about is choice and engagement. We have to offer tasks to our students that are challenging, but that keep them interested. And that means things they can also do independently that really tie back into that whole group lesson. Some of my favorite things that I've done in my classroom are offering meaningful writing prompts, because work on writing is not the time that we teach a writing lesson, but I want to offer available prompts to my students, at least 3 a day, so that they have choice and that something is going to resonate with them when they write. And I've talked a lot about work on writing in other videos, and I do share the prompts all the time, especially over on Instagram, and show you how to use them. And I've created them for the entire school year, and they are available for you to grab and use as well. The third thing we need to talk about is having a streamlined management system. So we have to have those routines that we go over with our daily expectations, because we need our students to know what we expect of them, and having that Daily 5 chart up all year round, going over them before you start in for the day, even if they've done it a million times before. It sets the tone for the day. And if we have our pre-prepared materials ahead of time, it's gonna minimize the workload and maximize classroom efficiency. If your word work activities are planned out in your curriculum, like they are in mine, then you can plan out a few weeks ahead of time and get those materials prepped so they're ready to go, and you're not like, shoot, I didn't go to the copy maker, or I didn't put this in Google Slides yet for them. It's ready to go. So how do we actually problem solve in action? So let's take a closer look at how these things that I've just mentioned, the essentials, what they look like when they're working together. So if you're struggling with work on writing, for example, age-appropriate prompts, like I just mentioned, that's a problem for people if they are struggling to come up with ideas on their own. So how can we use those prompts to spark creativity and zero in on our focus? And that is part of tying back into what I said before, is offering them choice. Let's say one of your problems is you don't have a lot of read to self engagement. So I would have some kind of self-reflection tool that you could have your students chart their progress and really get into their words what's going on. So if they hate reading, maybe they just haven't found the right book. So having a book conference, or maybe setting a goal with them. Like one student might be able to read 10 books during read to self one trimester, but another is only capable of 5. So setting realistic goals with them and meeting with them one-to-one, setting aside some time to really figure out what kind of a reader they are, especially if you don't have much of a classroom library checkout time, then you would want to incorporate that into your Daily 5 book club at least once a month. Another issue with this is your students might need to build their stamina back up. If they've come back after a break and they've just lost their reading stamina, then you just need to get out the chart again and start charting their progress until they can build it back up. Those strategies are going to empower your students and have them take ownership of their own learning, which is ultimately what we want as teachers. And it's going to leave you with fewer interruptions and more time to teach. And that's the whole point of Daily 5. 0 interruptions in a dream world, and more time to teach those reading groups, which are my absolute favorite thing to teach during Daily 5. The Daily 5 doesn't have to feel overwhelming, even in grades 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I know you have a lot of curriculum to cover. I'm in the thick of it with you. There is so much literacy that you have to go over, but the way that you can streamline it with the Daily 5 is going to make you just breathe a huge sigh of relief and give your students all the things that I mentioned in this video, which they desperately need: choice, autonomy, and a little bit of freedom within inside those literacy block walls. If you focus on accountability, engagement, and streamlining those systems, I promise that you can create a literacy block where your students are going to thrive, and it's going to become their favorite time of the day as well as yours. All of the things that I mentioned that I do are in a one-stop shop inside of the Daily 5 toolkit for grades 3, 4, and 5. I've spent an entire year building out all of the things that I do in my classroom that make my life so much easier, and the things that other teachers have come to me and asked for. How do you do this? I don't understand. Why is this working so well? I've put it all inside of this toolkit, including all of the writing prompts that we talked about, all of the charts, the chart that goes on the smart board. Everything you could possibly need for the entire school year is inside of that toolkit, and it doesn't have to feel like a mountain of work when you have the toolkit by your side and you can just pull everything up and have it ready to go every single day and week. So if you're ready to take the stress away from prep and planning and you want a system that works, you can check out the link in the description box below and follow in the footsteps of many other teachers who are currently using this system and loving it in their upper elementary classroom. And like I mentioned before, it offers you year-long support so that you're not stuck trying to figure it out on your own, because I know sometimes in teaching we can feel so isolated and like we're in a silo, especially if we choose to do things differently, like the Daily 5, and have a system that actually works inside of our literacy block. I'd love to know what your biggest challenges are with the Daily 5 in your elementary classroom. Leave me a comment below. And remember, you can always head over to Instagram and send me a DM and let me know how your school year is going, or share something that you would just like to share about your classroom. I love hearing from you and making internet friends. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.